Aisha. Aisha. Huh? Yeah. Chatter and see if you can find music. Ayo, can you hear me? Ayo, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me? We may not be able to test your volume right now just because there's music on, but I just want to make sure that you can hear me.
Let me try my AirPods.
I want to have fun too, yeah.
Ayo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect.
Hey, welcome. How's everybody doing? Pizza good? All right. So we did pizza today because there was a lot of you, but we have all kinds of lunch and learns with all kinds of food, but I know you can't go wrong with pizza. So, well, welcome. My name's Tasha Williams. I'm the managing director of the Innovation Hub here. How many of you guys have been here for any reason at all? All right. All right. Who did Red Raider Startup? Anybody? Okay, there's a couple. Good. Pantex Challenge? Couple of you. Awesome. Anybody in the iLaunch competition? Oh, we got some. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So the ones in the back are competing for $10,000 next Friday. So if you want to catch that, that's our Shark Tank event. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of gauge who's been here and just kind of tell you a little bit about what we do here. So this is the Innovation Hub, and we launch startup companies. So you're going to hear about them today. These are our exciting startups that happened either in their dorm room, at home, as a student. They're going to be talking about their journey as a student, doing a startup company, the challenges, the ups and the downs, and the successes, right? They wouldn't be up here today if they didn't have successes to share. We also have 2 online that we're going to introduce here in just a second. But we have all kinds of events throughout the year. What I want to say is we have all kinds of money to give out. We do. Okay, so we're looking for you. We're looking for entrepreneurs. We're looking for good ideas. Anybody in the room, other than the ones that already raised their hand, obviously you have a good idea. Have a business idea that you've been thinking about? I'm going to have you pitch it right now. I'm kidding. I'm not. No. Okay, see? If you have an idea or you have a way to solve a problem with something that you thought of, even if it was in the shower this morning, there's a place for you. We have ideation programs, which is early stage ideas. You come in and you're like, I've been thinking about this. I don't know if it'll work. We got money for you. We've got programs for you, mentorship. If you've been working on something for 10 years and you're like, I just don't know where to go next, we have a place for you. And so you can do anything from early stage Shark Tank like competitions that we'll see next Friday here at the Innovation Hub, or accelerator companies, which everybody on the call has been through. So, and here in the room. And so they're going to talk about that. They get $25,000, a team of industry mentors to launch their company in a year. And so a lot of them will talk about that today. Was there anything else? Oh, for me, so I want to show you a video really, really quick. We just threw this in at the last minute. So I'm like, there's a lot of students here and you guys need to know, if you don't know already, one of our biggest events of the year happens every fall. And it's the most popular event that we have. And it's called Red Raider Startup. So we had 100 to 150 students throughout the weekend. You come in, you may have an idea, you may not. You may just come for the pizza and the food because we feed you all weekend, which some have admitted when they walked in the door, like, I don't know why I'm here, but I heard there was a t-shirt and pizza. And then they end up pitching their idea and leading a team. And so this is Red Raider Startup. We're going to show you the video here, but we want you guys to consider coming to our programs, especially this one.
It's not about having the perfect initial idea, it's about making these ideas happen. At Red Raider Startup, we provide the tools and resources people need in order to develop those ideas into actionable possibilities.
Not really surprising to anyone that I am less for a linguist than I am a distant person. For Red Raider Startup, it almost feels like learning a new language. I learned so many new words this weekend. In-house, customer discovery, all of that good stuff.
She's now moving to the iLaunch competition after this. That was the one right there that came for the pizza.
I'm really glad that Williamsburg field has come. It's been such a great experience. It was interesting. It was a new environment that I hadn't been in before. The Innovation Hub is just very, has a lot of high tech that you can work with, has a lot of resources, and it just kind of felt like
All right. All right. So that's Red Raider Startup. So we want to just make sure you guys have an opportunity to see that. Super fun. There was a handful of those teams that are moving on to the iLaunch competition and made it into the top 10. So next Friday, if you come, we're going to start at noon. Again, food. I think it's Chipotle. Y'all like Chipotle? Hey, again, fancy, again, fancy. Yeah, so we're going to have a buffet there. You come and we're going to start with our Pantex Innovation Challenge winners. And so Pantex Plant came and did a challenge, and there's 3 teams that are solving problems from the Pantex plant. and they're going to be presenting their solutions. And then we're going to move forward into the iLaunch competition. 10 teams are competing for $10,000. At 5 o'clock, if you can't make it throughout the day, we want you to celebrate with us. We're going to have a big party in the atrium, lots of food, a DJ, all kinds of stuff, and announce the winners. So I'm going to get out of the way, but I do want to thank Lita, and we'll make you talk, but Carolyn Rowley with Lita. So the Lubbock Economic Development Alliance is our #1 supporter of the Innovation Hub and helps fund these programs for you free of charge so that you can attend and win some money for your startup. So thank you, Lita. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ryan Bain, our program manager. She's responsible for putting this together today, and we'll introduce our panelists. All right. Give it up for Ryan.
Okay, thank y'all all for being here today. So I'm going to introduce our wonderful young entrepreneur panel today. So we have Abby Rosilier at the end. We have Zach Rosilier. We have Aigbe, and she is on Zoom. So in just a second, you'll be able to see her picture bigger. And then we have Drew Pickens. Woo! And Patrick Elias from Blueverse, and then Raphael Akinsipe. And so he's on Zoom as well. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let all of them tell you a little bit about their entrepreneurship before we get into our panel. If Raphael and I want to go first, and then we can do everyone here.
Yeah, happy to kick us off. Can you guys hear me okay? Awesome. All right. That looks like a bunch of thumbs up there. I am calling in from a hotel room in Seattle, so hopefully my internet is good enough to make it through. But happy to be here. I'll share a bit on my entrepreneurial journey. So I got my degree in engineering at Texas Tech. So guns up. Super proud of my relationship with tech and my degree from tech. I started my first company in my dorm room at Coleman Hall with a few of my friends. Had some early success there, and then after college, did another startup called Resumakers that I got to do as part of the accelerator program with the hub. Had some great success there, raised some early money for that, and then eventually, took a break from startups, went to go work at Google for a little while, and very quickly realized how much I wanted to get back into startups. So quit my job at Google to join a startup that one of my friends started called Case Tabs. It was a health tech startup. We did software for surgery centers, and that was my biggest success. We grew that company really quickly and got to a large market share across the U.S. And then eventually we got acquired by Bain Capital, and we had fortunately a really successful exit there. We were acquired for several million, and then after that, took some time to kind of think about what I wanted to do next. And then I started my most recent company called Social Crowd, and we do employee incentive software. We work with brands like Sonic Drive-In, Motorola, Toyota, and Lexus to be able to create automated incentives for their employees. So excited to be a part of the panel, and hopefully I can be helpful to many of you on your journey.
Oh, what a tough intro to follow, Raphael. Just setting the stage. Hi, everyone. My name is Ayodele Aigbe. I also go by Io for short, not Iowa or Idaho. I'm calling in from Dallas, more specifically the Pink Palace. I'm in my friend's office space that it's all pink, so I love it here. I'm the founder of Hangyo, and we are a luxury clothing care company. So our whole reason for existing is to help people keep their clothes longer, keep what they love and cherish a little bit longer. And right now, how we're doing that is through a patented customizable hanger. So my freshman year of college, actually, in the dorm room, I discovered I had a pain point with shoulder bumps on my sweater. I was frustrated. I tried different things to try and get out that shoulder bump on the sweater, and nothing worked. And so I used the case study of how I can create a better hanger for a program I did, and that led me to what is now my product. Started in 2017, still running it now, so 6 years in, and it's been a long journey. The first 3 years was a lot of building out the product, and then we launched in 2020. And for the past 3 years, we've been trying to build up the business, trying to grow, trying to find product market fit. I think some of the most exciting things that have happened are that we are revenue generating. We had a tweet go viral that was seen by millions, featured in Fast Company. We just landed a strategic partnership with a runway company that does shows all over the country. So Hangyo will be with designers all over the country. And we also just landed our first B2B client this past Wednesday, and they paid yesterday. So I am buzzing this week. So super excited to chat with you guys. I really believe in college entrepreneurship. It changed my life. And so happy to dig into everything with all the amazing panelists here too.
Hello. Okay. I'm Abby Rosilier. This is my brother, Zach. We're both part of Abby Rose, which is a phone case and technology accessory company. I started it when I was 16, so it's almost 5 years ago. And my whole family has hopped in now. It's a family business now. And we've sold over $1.3 million of phone cases. What the heck? 56,000 cases, 37,000 different customers. And we're currently in the accelerator program here at the Hub. And we just moved into the Hub now. So the Hub is like our home. It's so amazing. I love it here. And we're also working on our new patented product, which is the world's first phone case organizer. No one's thought of that yet. It seems so simple, but that's also our next big project. And Zach, you can.
Yeah, I'm Zach, Abby's brother. She gave me a job straight out of college. It was kind of crazy. She was 16, offered me a full-time job as soon as I graduated. So love her to death, love the company, and super excited to be here today. The Hub especially has done so much for us. I mean, we did iLaunch. We went through the accelerator program as well. And really just the experience that we've gained from that has been pretty invaluable so far. A couple of our mentors over here too. Hi guys. I'm falling apart here, guys. I'll pass it off a little bit.
All right, is this on? Yeah, I guess so. My name's Drew. I'm one of the co-founders of Blueverse. We actually got our start here at the Innovation Hub. We did the accelerator program. We were the last cohort to do it. And now Abby's in the new cohort, obviously. So yeah, I mean, how we got our start is we honestly applied for that, not really thinking we would get it, ended up getting it, got, connected with a lot of mentors in the area. And they all gave us very valuable advice to kind of help us grow our business and get it to where we are today. Honestly, if we didn't get plugged in with these mentors here, then we probably wouldn't be here. But a little bit about Blueverse. It's an app on the App Store. You can download it if you want, please do. But it connects you with all the local businesses in the area. There's over like 80, 90 businesses on right now. Yeah, and they give you deals and you can talk about your experience there. So yeah, check it out.
Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Elias. I actually started out at community college about 5 years ago, transferred to Texas Tech. I wasn't the best student, but community college really drove me to kind of excel my learning and take school seriously. And when I came to Texas Tech, I spent about 4 years in the mechanical engineering department, struggled a lot in there. It wasn't my best suit, but I learned a lot about struggle and failure, which I believe we will get into those types of questions here in the future. I'm happy to share that. I joined Blueverse February 2023, so almost a year in Blueverse right now. I was an early employee. I saw a lot of growth in the company. And when they came out with a product, I reached out to Drew, Mason, and Alec and Taylor Brewster, which you guys haven't met those other 3 co-founders yet. But I joined Blueverse. I turned down my Chevron job, graduated, had no money, joined Blueverse and started working for the startup. And I'm super grateful to be here. Like Ayu said earlier, entrepreneurship kind of saved my life, taught me how to deal with failures. And I'm just excited to get into that. And thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank y'all again. So we're going to just dive in. And so we're going to start with Ayo. We're going to talk about challenges of balancing academics with entrepreneurship, what most of you are probably here to learn about. And so Ayo, how do you manage your time effectively and what strategies have helped you maintain this balance?
Yeah, I love this question. So I studied electrical engineering and math at Texas Tech. Started in 2017, graduated in 2020 in a pandemic. Not sure how I did that, but it happened. And throughout like most of the life of Angio, I've been in college. So I think that's like one of the number one questions I have gotten asked is like, how have you balanced it? And I think for me, I think what helped is I was really passionate about what I was doing, and I tried to tie that into my classes. So like things that I was learning in classes, I leveraged in my startup. So studying engineering, it taught me how to problem solve, how to build, how to like be resilient, how to find like different solutions to problems. And I used that whenever I was in the building stages of Hangyo. And I think you can do that with just about any major, just like the how like school makes you think and challenges you. I think that you can leverage that for your company. So that's like the macro, the high level, more of like the mindset. I think tactically speaking, I feel like I saw it like my business as a job. So like I was very mindful with the time, like this was the time for school, this was the time for business, and I was present for both. So I wasn't like mixed up whenever I was doing each thing. And I think it allowed me to do well in school, and it also allowed me to do well in business. Candidly, it was very hard. There were some semesters where I did have like a midlife crisis, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, do I actually want to do this major? Like, where's this business going? But I feel like going back to like being passionate about what you're doing makes a big difference. Also, like being in community. So I had really great classmates that would like help me. I'd help them if I was struggling on a topic. I was always in office hours with my professor. So I really leaned into everything on the school side, but also you found me at the hub most of the time, talking to mentors, like talking to Tasha, getting support. So I think it's not easy, but I think being very like mindful of your time and building community around you can make all the difference. And it's doable. It's so doable too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So I also forgot to tell all of y'all that if you have any questions, we will have a Q&A at the end, like the last 10 to 15 minutes. But if you have any pressing questions that relate to any of their answers, just raise your hand and we can, y'all can ask them those questions. But I think that answer definitely leads into like the fear of failure, which is a common hurdle that many entrepreneurs have. So Patrick, I have a question for you. So how have you personally dealt with this fear, and what advice can you give to aspiring student entrepreneurs to overcome it?
So raise of hands, is there anyone in here that has failed a class at Texas Tech? Come on, anyone else? All right, so there you go, Nathan. I think the earliest stages of failure I really had was whenever I was facing a really tough class and I failed it. One thing I learned is that failing a class, I've never felt so like diminished over it. I felt so bad about it. I didn't want to tell my parents. I'd, try and hide my grade report like I was still in elementary school or something. But I realized that the second time I took those really hard classes, I knocked it out of the park, because I never ever wanted to kind of repeat my failures again, at least in the same sense of those specific types of, study habits or whatever. So one thing I could take away from my failures is that I learned so much from them, and there is no such thing as success without failing. If you think that you're going to be a perfect student and you're going to jump into entrepreneurship life and everything's going to be perfect, well, you're greatly mistaken. And I think that's something to kind of embrace, because at first it's a little scary, but once you hit your couple of failures, you realize that you grow so much because of it. One story I could share is that when I was like a senior and I was about 3 months into the Blueverse and I had about 2 months to graduate. Okay. I already had a job offer from Chevron and I turned it down that week. And, Blueverse was really starting to kick up in sales. We had our product out on the App Store. Everything was booming. It was like the perfect life, perfect entrepreneurship story. But I had just quit my job, right? I walked into, I think, 4 businesses that day that I thought I was going to sell, knock out of the park, and I was going to come home with a check and tell everyone at Blueverse how successful our story was. All 4 of those businesses said, no, I'm not going to purchase your product. And I was walking out of that last business that day thinking to myself, what have I got myself into? I just quit my job. I didn't make any sales today. It was like my first 4 sales that I thought I was going to hit. And I had this huge panic attack where I didn't know if entrepreneurship was for me, to be honest. but I also realized I just quit my job. So it made me realize that you are going to hit so many failures throughout your career. And that point, that week, that day, I realized that I need to gather myself together, accept the failure, take notes. What did I make mistakes on? What did I say incorrectly? And really learn from it. Just like failing a class, right? I'd go to my professor and ask him, hey, what did I do wrong? Either I didn't study too much or I didn't ask enough questions in class. So I learned so much from failing that 1 week. And I realized that I had no safety net. I grew so much. And, you know, now whenever I hit a failure, I take it with a grain of salt and I learn from it.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I think failure leads really into like building a brand. And so the perfect person I think for this is Abby. So marketing your product or service is crucial for your business, any business. And so as a student entrepreneur, how do you go about marketing your startup to your target audience, especially as students?
Yeah. So as far as 16-year-old me trying to find my target audience, I started by posting my phone cases on Snapchat to my friends. And all my friends were buying it. And then my friends' friends were buying it. And then there was a random stranger that was buying it. And I was like, okay, I think my age is kind of who's wanting phone cases. It's kind of easy to sell a product that you love yourself to people who are also your age and your demographic. So it was like I was selling it to my best friends. And I got Instagram. I don't think TikTok was around yet. I had the Instagram and I made sure to really keep my personality and face behind it because I feel like a lot of brands, you don't really know the faces behind it or what they're actually doing. And I was always like, hey guys, watch me open this box of 30,000 cases. Hey guys, watch me have this breakdown of not having enough sales today. Like it was always so personal. And I've always made it very key to have the customer feel like their decisions are part of the business. So they pick the next design that's getting released. They name the design. They, you know, they choose which color is going to be on the website. So as far as marketing, I try to keep it so personable, not just to me, but to them. So it feels like a friendship. I mean, when me and my roommate Giselle here go live, we literally know everything about our customers and they know everything about us. It's like talking to our friends. So about finding target audience, first of all, make sure it's a product that you're obsessed with yourself. I had like 10 other little businesses before this. I did hair bows. I don't even wear hair bows. I sparkle chargers. I don't even sparkle my own charger. It was like, hello, that's not going to work. But once I started doing phone cases, things that I already spent my own money on, it came a lot more naturally because I freaking love the product already. So yeah, that would be my advice. And just really keep it personable because most brands are just showing you the brand on Instagram and not really the behind the scenes and the personality and struggles behind it.
Awesome. Okay, so let's look ahead and we're going to focus on long-term goals. So Raphael, this is for you. What are your long-term goals for your startups and how do you see the future of your business evolving as you transition from student life to the professional world?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And, for me as someone who had a company while in college and then now, post my time at Texas Tech, I've run another company. I think this is a place where I'll talk a little bit about kind of just how I envision my company evolving, but I'll also give kind of some tidbits on the differences between what it was like running a business in college and then now kind of being on the other side of it. So personally, in terms of, long-term goals for my company and how we want to grow, today a large portion of our business comes from the hospitality industry. So we work with lots of restaurant brands. We work with a number of hotels and we're continuing to kind of expand into new verticals, which is really key to our growth path there. So we now have some construction companies coming on board. We're starting to grow in the automotive space. We have brands like Toyota and Lexus that are some of our early customers there. So we plan to continue to grow there. And then long term, when it comes to the vision of your company, everyone's got a different plan for what they want, kind of the end point to be. Some people, they want to continue to run that company forever, maybe take that company public. Some people hope to sell the company. We've raised venture capital. So I know all of our investors are looking for what the exit point will be. So for us as a company, our goal over the course of the next 5 to 10 years is to likely sell the company to another player within the space or to eventually take the company public. And I've had success in the past of selling my last company. So I think internally as a team, we'd love to be able to get to a place where we can take our company public. In terms of the transition from student life to the professional world. When I was a student, it was constantly a balancing act, especially as an engineering student running a company. And it was really difficult to be able to, do hiring and, growing the business, being able to bring on investors as a student because you're constantly doing a juggling act between it all. And I think one of the key differences as you transition into the professional world is that it is your full-time job. I think someone mentioned earlier that, when when you're in a role where you're doing it full time, you don't have a safety net anymore. There's not this sense of, if this doesn't work, I can just kind of focus on a job. This is my livelihood. And, being in a place where not only are you living off the business that you've created, but you also have employees who, if I don't find a way to help the company grow, they're not going to get paid. You feel really different about those things. And there's a greater sense of weight to that. And I think, one of the things that I'll say as a part of that is that not only do you feel the pressure of delivering on the business in this, when it becomes your total full-time job, but the other side of that, though, is that you do get way more time to focus on your business. And, when I was a student, half the time I was at the library actually studying. And then the other time, we're using our time at the library to build our business. And now in the professional world, I get to be 100% focused on my company. And I think it gives me an opportunity to do things, just at a even faster pace. So those are some of the key differences there between what it's like running it as a student and then now transitioning into my professional life.
Perfect. Anybody else have anything to share on that? Or y'all? No? Okay. So I think that really leads into what you were saying, like having people surrounding you. So I think building a support network is crucial for any entrepreneur. So Drew, this one's for you. So could you tell us about the people or resources that have been most valuable to you in your entrepreneur journey?
Oh man. Honestly, I would say the network that we built here at Texas Tech, and the Innovation Hub specifically. We've met so many people through the Innovation Hub, while going through these different competitions that we got selected in. Like, for example, we got selected into the Rice Business Plan competition. So we went down to Houston at the beginning of this past summer. And, one of the connections we made actually vouched for us, right? And so at this competition, we ended up taking home $145,000. And, without this woman, who knows, maybe we didn't get that. She really stuck her neck out for us and said, this is the group of guys who's going to go get it done. So honestly, just, making the connections early. These are the people that are going to have your back. Even when things get tough too, you're going to feel like the world's against you, and it's good to have a support system to have people back you up, whether that's friends or mentors or anybody just you meet along the journey. But yeah,
I think that's great. And I mean, when the world's against you, that again leads sometimes to failure, and failure is often considered a stepping stone to success most of the time. So Zach, could you share a failure or setback you experienced in your entrepreneur journey and the valuable lessons you have learned from it?
Yeah. So if you want to step into this world, you better get used to failure and learning from it, because it's going to happen. That being said, it's probably the most beautiful thing that can happen, right? Because you're not going to learn anything if you don't mess up along the way. Nobody knows everything to start off with. If you want a truly personal anecdote from Abby Rose, I think our biggest mistakes throughout the lifetime of our business had to do with preparation for scale. So there's two instances where we failed to scale a process and we failed to scale a product. And both of those had a big impact on us. It was ridiculous. I think Abby knows the numbers better than I do, but we went viral on TikTok a year.
Yeah, this was year one of Abby Rose, so I hadn't really been viral yet. Was not familiar with that. It was during COVID. We did $30,000 of cases in 2 days, and then we actually had family vacation the next day. So we had to bring all the cases with us to Florida. But also COVID, all the manufacturers are shut down. So we had $30,000 of orders to make, but also no cases and nowhere to order cases, angry customers. It was just crazy. So we've always been aware to be ahead on stock. And another instance is our current viral product right now, our mashup cases. Basically, we cut up a ton of different designs and make a mashup case, and everyone is different. And of course, went viral. We're in a rare. Went on vacation. We always go on Florida when things go viral. July is like the month we go viral, and we always go to Florida. Anyways, so same issue, brought everything there, didn't have enough scraps of paper, didn't have enough cases. It was just hectic. So we've just really learned to be prepared for viral content all the time. You literally never know when it's going to hit. And yeah, we just tend to not be prepared. So we've learned how to do that.
And yeah, and just to add on to that, it's not just virality on social media, right? If you're pushing a product or a service, either one, your goal is to make a lot of sales, right? So you need to do the extra work ahead of time to think about how you're going to handle that surge of orders, that volume once it gets to you, because that's your goal, and you want to be able to handle it when you get it. And if you don't, you better learn from it, or else it might bite at you. But super fun stuff, and it's exciting to talk about.
Well, I think failure that y'all have experienced, like having those people surrounding you, like is really crucial to your company and y'all's success. And so like leading into that a little bit, so that also comes with like teamwork and collaboration, especially students with varying schedules and commitments. So Patrick, can you provide some insights into the importance of teamwork within a startup?
Yeah, I think that there's two differences with teamwork in a startup. I think that there's the founders teamwork and then kind of like the early stage employees teamwork. With founders, I think that founders would not get together unless they were at least somewhat well working together. So I think that when founders get together and start a company, the teamwork kind of naturally happens. Everyone's in the same room. There's not a lot of employees, so the communication doesn't have to be so vigorous. You could almost always get 2, 3, 4 founders in the same room and kind of talk about your own ideas. But I think the struggle really is when you start hiring people, and let's say you go from 4 co-founders to 10 employees or maybe even 20 employees. I think that the teamwork really starts to get a little bit more challenging, and you're going to have to start using a lot more mentorship to really understand how to do this, especially being in school. I think that's such a big struggle, but technology is your friend. So I think one thing that's massive with our teamwork is Google. Google is like an amazing product to use for young startups where, you can message people, you could set up meetings, you could create group chats, you could assign tasks to people. And, aside from the product side and technology side of teamwork, I think that understanding what people's roles are, what they need to do, and setting up some sort of benchmark to measure success is a great way to kind of initialize teamwork. When you know what people's roles are and what their goals are and what they're supposed to be doing, it's a lot easier to communicate with your team. And I'm not talking about like pointing fingers and saying, hey, you didn't do your job. I'm talking more of like holding people accountable for their roles. And that just creates a lot more fluent and dynamic teamwork. I'm not a huge fan of like weekly meetings and meeting every morning to kind of talk over the same things every day. I'm a little bit more of leaning on trust, setting up goals for your people and holding them accountable. And then, when your employees are not doing their job or they're not hitting their KPIs, I think that's a really good instance to kind of pull them in, talk to them and talk about what's going on. And just that sense is it's a lot more effective to run a team and to collaborate with your team members when you really define what everyone's doing and how they're working. But technology is your friend. So I would recommend, using Google. If you're on an engineering team, Drew knows this, you could use Slack. Notion's really good for communication, internal communication. And just, there's a lot of tools, a lot of companies out there that were startups, that used to be startups, that created these tools for other startups to use to really help with that teamwork. So like I said, use technology. It's your best friend when really handling teamwork.
Yeah, it's really cool to see if any of y'all are ever in the Innovation Hub or just come by to see. You'll always see some of the Blueverse guys just hanging out, and their office is down that hallway, and they're all in there just collaborating. And so it's really cool to see their business flourish here if you're all ever around the Innovation Hub. Oh, okay. Yeah, if anybody can stay around, we can give y'all a tour. Exactly. Yeah. And we can go by Abby Rose's office, maybe peek in there. They have They have a really, if you ever see their TikTok or their Instagram, they have a really cool phone case wall that Zach did from scratch.
I will say that being at the Innovation Hub is really useful for teamwork and communication. You know, there's a lot of startups out there where everyone's kind of remote and it's hard to get everyone in the same room. But with us, when we're all in school and we still like have half of our employees still in school, everyone just comes to the Innovation Hub when they're not in class. Everyone comes to the Innovation Hub for breaks. So whether you're working or you're on break, you normally find a lot of Blueverse employees at the Innovation Hub, which really helps kind of having like a home base to gather up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to go back to Raphael because I know like your experience with having multiple companies or starting multiple startups. What specific piece of advice or lesson learned that you wish you had known when you had started your entrepreneur journey?
Yeah, probably the two biggest things that I would tell any founder or anyone kind of considering going into a startup is just, you know, having a strong sense of perseverance and drive. And, you know, there's a lot of great founders out there that you'll hear talk about just, you know, as you're building a company, you're going to face tons of challenges. There's going to be lots of unexpected hurdles that are put in front of you. And, you know, many times the companies that succeed, some of the best startups that you hear about, the ones that, you know, they seem like they're an overnight success, but it's really been a 10+ year journey to get to that point where they had kind of a massive growth. A lot of that is that they just didn't quit. Like they just kept doing it, kept working, kept figuring out, you know, how to move forward. And on the flip side of that, you also have the drive, that part of you that's just, I'm going to make this happen no matter what, regardless of kind of the challenges that are put in front of me. And I'll tell a funny story. I'm not saying that this is what everyone should go out and do, but I think it's a good example of kind of some of the things we were willing to do to make things work for our startup. So back when I was in college, the first company I started was this company called Glow Station. We had these shirts that would they would light up to the sound of your voice. And we did, you know, merch with Texas Tech. So you'd have like a Texas Tech logo, and as you talked or you cheered, the shirt would light up with a Texas Tech logo. We were in like Varsity Bookstore, and you know, we would partner with concerts and do stuff with them. So we had this company, and one of the things when we got the deal with Varsity Bookstore, one of the things they told us is that you have to have all of those shirts to us before the first day of school, or we're not going to be able to move forward with the deal. So at the time, we had moved our manufacturing to China. So a lot of our orders, you know, we would wait for them to come in. There were times where they would get held up at customs. And it was this whole long process. And, you know, this specific order got held up at customs. So it's like the week of, you know, week before school starts. We're waiting, we're tracking it, we're looking at the shipping, and it was coming through DHL. So then it is like the day before school starts now, and we are freaking out, or it's 2 days before school starts. We're freaking out because we still don't have the order. We can see that they're about to get to Lubbock. And then, you know, we see that there's a DHL driver that has it, it's in Lubbock. And then, you know, we're waiting the whole day to get our shirt so that the next day we could take it to Varsity Bookstore. And then, you know, the day comes to an end and we don't get our shirt. So now we're really worried. And one of my best friends, Paul, he was my roommate my freshman year of college. Still one of my best friends, actually a co-founder with me at my current startup. But Paul is someone I always describe as someone who can, for lack of a better way of putting it, procure anything on the internet. So Paul looked up the delivery driver, and he was able to find the guy's mom. And you know, I'm not saying everyone do this, but we called the guy's mom and told his mom, you know, hey, we really need that package, and it looks like your son is the delivery driver, and for whatever reason we didn't get our box today. And the guy's mom called him, and he met us at the DHL warehouse in Lubbock, and we picked up our shirts, and the next day we took it to Varsity Bookstore. So I tell that story just to say that's the level of drive and perseverance you have to make things happen for your business, and just, you know, not, you know, being someone who's not going to quit, so that no matter what happens, you can make your vision a reality. So that's my 2 cents there. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, hurdles come in all shapes and forms. So I think another one is financial constraints, especially that's common among students. And so Ayo, how did you manage the initial funding for your startups, and what tips do you have for bootstrapping on a tight budget?
Yeah. I was gonna also quickly add to your previous question, Ryan, that I think one thing I wish I would have known is that you're going to need energy in like different forms, whether that's like financial energy or physical energy, but you're going to be trying out so many different things. Like the main thing you're going to need to keep going is like the resource of energy. The reason why a lot of startups fail is because they just don't have resources anymore, whether that's like the founders burnt out, or you don't have any money, or you don't have any interest. So I think that's a big thing. And I can share an example a little bit later. But on the financial side, we've raised, let's see, 75K non-dilutive. So relatively speaking, not a huge amount, but it's more than $0 to do all we've been able to do. And non-dilutive, if you're not familiar, anyone listening, it's basically meaning that it's like a grant, or like none of your companies, no ownership of your company is being taken as a result of receiving that funding. So for me, when I started in 2017, I didn't have any money. I was that standard broke college kid, and I really leaned on all the programming for college students, which there's so much out there. I'm kind of jealous that I'm not a student anymore, that I don't get to take advantage of it. But my first ever grant was when I started that program, when I started the idea in the program, which they gave us $1,000 to basically like learn how to take this thing in our head and put it into, or build it out into a product. And so that was my first ever piece of capital. And I used that to create a proof of concept, which shared it on Facebook and went viral. And I was like, okay, I have something on my hand. Let's continue with that. And so 2018, that's actually when I transferred to, all in 2017, I transferred to tech, and I learned about the Innovation Hub and the whole pipeline of programs and funding. And I was like, okay, this is my second home. And so I literally applied to everything. I have to shout out Tasha, because sometimes there was like hesitancy around stuff that I would apply to. So for example, iLaunch, I was like, oh no, nobody's gonna like a CPG company. It's just gonna be tech. And she was like, no, apply. And we ended up getting third place, which was another piece of capital, which led to a 25K grant from the accelerator, prototype fund, 10K, so on and so forth from there. And so I would say, like, honestly, my warm take is that the best time to build a business is in college, because there's so much funding out there for college students. And you can definitely reach out to Ryan and Tasha to tell you all about the funding at Texas Tech, and I'm sure other programs as well. But I think just looking for grants, like grants for college entrepreneurs, and you're going to find so much. There's Future Founders, there's WeBank if you're a female founder. There's a lot of organizations that really want to invest in students. So this is prime time. So take advantage of everything. Again, I'm very jealous that I'm not a student anymore. It's hard out here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, when I went through Red Raider Startup in 2021 as a staff member, like I was actually one of the people on the leadership team. So that's when I first met her, and then she was on our leadership team again this year. So that's awesome. And so we may only have time for one or two more questions, but so milestones and breakthroughs, like moments, are pivotal for all of us. And so Abby, could you share a story from your startup journey that you believe was crucial to your success?
There was like a few aha moments, like, oh my goodness, this is an actual business. But as far as when it turned into like from a hobby of mine into a family business, was obviously content was going viral during COVID and everything. But for a while, I would like refuse to let my family help. I'm like pretty controlling when it comes to stuff like that. So like when my mom was like, let me help you ship orders, or Aubrey, my older sister, asked to make cases, I was like, heck no. I do not, sorry. I do not want anyone to help me. And then it just got too much. I was also doing acrobatic gymnastics, and I was having 30-hour training weeks. So I was just getting so exhausted. It was like starting to become, I was getting burnt out doing it on my own. So it started with my mom helping me ship orders while I was at practice. I finally let my sister help me make cases, and now she actually makes all of them in Dallas. I don't even have to do production anymore. I just focus on content here. So definitely don't be afraid to ask for help. I don't know why I refused to have help. I was just like that. So once my family started hopping in, that's when we really started to see it grow. My mom created the whole website. We were starting to get orders from all around the world. A crazy story, or just the first time I remember seeing one of my cases out in public. from a stranger was when I was in Telluride, Colorado, which is such a small city in Colorado. And I was at a Lululemon and this group of girls was like, hey, laughing and pointing. And I was like, what the heck? And this was like a year into it. And I looked at her phone. She had an Abbey Rose case. And then it happened again in Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is a tiny, tiny town in Michigan. For some reason, it's always the small towns. Happened again, people coming up to me in Lubbock, my friends seeing them on the bus. So it was just crazy starting to see people. I had no idea who these people were, and it was my product. So it definitely started once I allowed my family to hop in, but it doesn't have to be your family. It can be anyone. Obviously, Blueverse was literally a group of friends, which is so cool. So yeah, help. Abbey Rose would not be here if it was just me still running it.
Yeah. And like that also like leads into like, you know, addressing like any knowledge gaps that you may not know and somebody else you can pull in them. So I think that's really crucial. So Zach, as young entrepreneurs, how do you fill the knowledge gaps and make informed decisions in your business?
So to answer this, I have kind of a cool little story. Right before I graduated college, I was on the bus coming home from class, right? And this guy got on the bus, just a normal looking guy, sat across from me and asked me how my day was. It's like, oh, I'll tell you, I'll talk to you, cool. Didn't know him. By the end of the bus ride, I was like telling him my life story. I felt like I trusted him. And I asked him why he was listening to me say all this stuff. And he looked at me and he was just like, I like to listen. But that answer didn't do it for me. So I pried a little bit more. I was like, why? Why do you like listening to what I have to say right now? And he looked me in the eye and he was like, look, everybody on this earth has their own life with their own decisions and their own outcomes and products with those, all that. It's all unique. And if you can listen attentively and really understand what somebody's trying to tell you, you can get literal lifetimes of knowledge and collect it, right? So think about how you listen, ask questions when you feel like you need to, and listen, right? Learning from somebody else's mistakes means you can avoid making those mistakes yourself. And that translated so well from my personal life into the business world, especially we were so young when we started this, and it was just ask questions, seek out information. I know Abby said something last night. The way you phrased it was,
Are you talking about podcasts or just going out of your way to like listen to people's? I've been so obsessed with how I built this by Guy Raz. It's, oh my gosh, it's so interesting. I just listened to the Dutch Bros one. It was so good. But there's just so many different platforms where you can hear people's stories, and there's so much to learn, even if the business has nothing to do with you. Like I'm like listening to it every morning when I'm washing my face. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got so much good advice. So yeah, go out of your way to just find platforms to listen to podcasts or YouTube videos, hear people's stories where they failed. It's so interesting, and you really can apply it to like anything in life, even non-business related.
Yeah, but that moment on the bus, as corny as it might sound, really stuck out to me and helped me a lot in multiple areas of my life. So
I've never heard you say that story, but it makes sense why you're so good at listening. Like, you're so good at listening. So
yeah, I try to put it forward, but yeah, I think that's the best advice I could give for almost anything.
I'll add a little bit to that as well. And, you know, I think in the sales process, I was never much of a salesman when I joined Blueverse, but that was kind of the only thing we had to do at the time. You know, I was an engineer by trade, but when I'd go out and I'd pitch Blueverse to local business owners, I realized that if I talk 20% of the time and listen 80% of the time, I know what he needs. I know if Blueverse could help him or not. And I know everything. I might even know his children's name by the end of the time I'm like done with him, right? If you let people talk, not only will they tell you your problems, but you could solve them using just their information. I feel like people are so aggressive when they want to learn more from people. They're so they talk more than they listen. And I think that it's just really valuable. If you really listen to someone, you'll gain all the information you'll need, and you just get smarter. That comes with sales, that comes with mentorship, advisors, your parents, your brothers, even people that you might think are not better than you. I promise you they know something that you don't, or are better at something than you're not. So I really like that one.
Yeah, you put it very well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm sure some of y'all have already shared your best piece of advice, but before we go to questions, I just wanted to see if any of y'all want to share just like maybe your top piece of advice for all the students or potential entrepreneurs in the room, just sort of wrap things up.
just don't give up.
Yeah, I was
I know
about to say that.
all of y'all put y'all's mics up, and I could tell some of y'all on Zoom were about to go unmute, but just don't give up. I think that's the best thing. You know, that comes into tie with failure, listening to advisors. Failing all the time is just the best way to grow. But always take that failure as a positive. Do not take it as a negative, because I promise you that entrepreneurs, they grow a lot faster. And the reason why you're going a lot faster in entrepreneurship is because you're failing so much more. So before you do get into this type of field, understand that your failures are going to make you great, stronger, tougher. And that's the only advice I could give you. When you think you're at your lowest, that is probably when you learn the most about yourself. So, talk to your mentors, talk to your parents, talk to your friends about the problems you're going through, and just don't give up.
Mine's like less inspirational and more just like logistics, but I would just say to really take advantage of social media since it's booming so much. It has turned our business into $1 million company 100%. And the less I think about creating the perfect content and the more I just think exactly what comes to my mind. For instance, me and Zach were in the office. We're like, let's try to put 100 designs on one case. And I was like, that won't go viral. Oh, 1.3 million views. And I didn't even plan it out. It was like 11 p.m. But social media, I mean, I don't know how long that's going to be around. It wasn't around 100 years ago. It might be around 100 years from now. But like, really take advantage of that. Even if it's just you're thinking of starting a business and you need help, you can ask people, hey, what do y'all think about? Like, you can put anything on there and get any type of information. So I would just really use advantage of that. Don't be afraid to make silly little videos because it might go viral.
Kind of building off what Abby just said. With the putting 100 different designs on the phone case, you just got to do it. It applies the same way with entrepreneurship, starting a company. You just got to do it. Like once you put your first foot forward and you start the company and you don't give up, I mean, the sky's the limit for you, Yeah.
To bounce off that too, man, it's just I know one of my weak points as a person is I get indecisive. I want it to be perfect before we put it out there. 99% is just not close enough for me. But what I had to learn the hard way was putting off the decision was making a decision in itself. Indecision is fatal. So just kick the bird out the nest. You got it. Yeah.
One thing I'll add to that is use technology as your best friend, guys. There's like no excuse not to start a company these days with how much technology there is out there for you to use. Cheap technology, like SaaS companies. Like for example, I use Calendly to book all my meetings. I use Google to meet with all my teams and send emails out externally. Drew and his engineering team, they use programming, internal type things to assign tasks to people. There's so much technology out there, like MailChimp to mass send emails out to people. Now you have ChatGPT, but I will say ChatGPT is a very useful tool, but you could use
For
it
brainstorming.
Yeah, you could use it very incorrectly. So use it to your advantage. Remember that you have your own mind, that AI is just helping you. But my point is, with all the technology out today, guys, there's just I'm not going to say it's easy to start a company, but there's so many tools out there to help you really get started.
Yeah. Do we have Raphael or Io? Do y'all want to share something?
Yeah, totally. I think lots of great advice already given. I think for me, what came to mind is maybe that this is like your first time, like thinking about a company, your first time at the hub. I think you're in the right place. Like keep doing exactly what you're doing. You decided to be here versus like any other thing. So pat yourself on the back for that. And I think like number one thing I get asked too is like, what do I start with? What do I do? I always think about like, what is choosing you? Like what idea, what problem is choosing you? What is that thing that like you literally, you go to sleep when you're thinking about it, like it won't get away from you. That's what you should be working on. Like really lean into your zone of genius because that's what's going to give you the fuel for the long term. It's not going to be caffeine, it's going to be alignment. And so I think to find what you want to be doing or what you're supposed to be doing, just like be present and listen and trust yourself. You got this.
I want to add one more thing. I was listening to the podcast this morning. It was Bill Gurley at Capital Factory in Austin. It's a huge startup ecosystem in Austin. They call this guy the tallest man in venture capital. And one thing that stuck out to me that he said this morning was that there are probably 5 other people in different cities around the world that are thinking the exact same idea that you have. But the only difference that is between you guys and the other guys is that you guys don't give up. Okay. There might be so many people out there with the same idea, same concept, but they just give up and they burn out and they don't want to complete it. So I guarantee you, if you stick on your path, no matter how unique your idea is, I promise you, if you don't give up, you'll make it to the top eventually.
Raphael.
Yeah, I think, everyone's kind of nailed it. I don't want to, kind of circle back on some of the things that have been pointed out. But yeah, I just emphasize a lot of what's already been said in terms of, just simply start doing it. I think people get caught up a lot of times trying to come up with a certain plan. And I'm not going to say business plans aren't helpful, but I think don't waste time trying to have a perfect solution. Just go out and start building things. And I can't take credit for this. This is something that's popularized by Y Combinator. They're a large accelerator program. But one of the things that they kind of tell every founder is, make stuff that people want. And I think as you think about what you want to do or what you want to go out and build, like that many times is an easy measure. Is this something that just like that you think is cool, or is this actually something that people want? Is it solving a problem or creating value for people? And that can be many times a good measuring stick for, where you invest your time as a founder.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I know we're like at time, but I want to give people opportunity if you can to ask questions. So we're going to start on this side. Does anyone have any questions? I'll go side by side. You have a question?
So from each of you, what are at least 2 of the key aspects that you found important to you when it came to building a team and what you needed?
Oh, I think I love this type of question. I really enjoy management and leadership. I think the most important thing is realizing strengths and weaknesses of people around you, and being able to delegate tasks that leads to a timely deadline. If you can take advantage of people's strengths and use those to help others' weaknesses and be open and honest about that, you're going to have an unstoppable force in terms of a team, and it's going to be amazing. I think that's the most important part.
100%. Kind of building off of that, finding people that you can trust that are, kind of share the same mindset as you, ambitious, has the drive and wants, the same outcome you do. Building the team, everybody needs to be uniform. Everybody needs to have the same goal in mind. But yeah, that's what I kind of look for when building a team.
Yeah, I don't think it's about your resume. I think it's about what Drew said. Does he have the drive, passion? Is he willing to listen and learn? And I promise you can't go wrong with someone like that.
Yeah, I would just
think
say
about.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks. I can't see you on that side.
No, I saw that. I'm like not even
but I know you're there. Okay, for me, 2 things is empathy and structure. So for me as a leader, I take my job as CEO very, very seriously. So I'm constantly thinking about, am I setting my team up for success? I have a marketing intern and a publicist. Am I giving them everything to be successful? Am I hearing them when they say that they're overwhelmed? Am I doing something about it? I'm constantly putting myself in my emotions, which might sound very contradictory to what you might hear from normal business advice, but I think that EQ piece, the emotional intelligence, is really, really important being a good leader. I think I saw an article somewhere that was like, a good, like one distinguishing thing in a good leader is the ability to be empathetic. And so empathy is really big for me, and then also structure. So having really clear goals, communicating what does success look like, understanding what their pet peeves are, them understanding what my pet peeves are. It's like a lot of just clarity and structure, so we're on the same page. You waste time, you waste money when you're not on the same page. So constantly seeking clarity and structure is something that I think about.
Good question.
Yeah, and I'll just also add, for me in my experience, how important person aspect, but how important my work environment has been. I did like my freshman and sophomore year, it was in my dorm room or my college room, and I was so burnt out. Obviously, I couldn't think of any content ideas when I'm stuck in my room. So when I started renting out office spaces or just creating like my ideal just like place to work, I really felt like my ideas, my brainstorming was so much better. I had so much more energy, and my passion was like starting to come back. So I would just say how important your work environment is. If you're just like sitting, I don't know, it's different for everyone, but once everything was pink in my office, that's when things got better.
Okay. Anybody else on this side? Okay. Anybody in the middle have a question? Okay. Someone on the second row and if we want to do like one panelist, maybe that way we can, if people have to go to.
So, as a startup company, I know it's like hard to build trust with like customers. So I was wanting to know what are your like strategies of building trust with customers when you're just a startup, like just a person?
Customer service has been huge for us. The biggest thing we do is you got to step outside your business shoes and really think from their perspective, right? Understand them. They're the ones that sign your paycheck. So you want to do right by them at all costs and go above and beyond in every area that you can. Think about a business where you walked out of there, you checked out, and you felt good and you felt happy. That's what we strive to do. That's what we.
Yeah, I would say we go above and beyond with customer communication, whether it's like a tiny little issue with their shipping address. They forgot I don't know. So a lot of companies, I feel like, look past a ton of these issues that might mess up their customer experience, but whether it's texting them, emailing them, like we have 5 different forms of communication, and we're constantly making them feel like their order is the most important thing in the world. So we've just always been told that our customer service is great. Shout out to my mom. She's customer service. Well, not to me, but anyways, I would just say constant communication, going out of your way, even when it's like, oh, I have to send them an email, but like really that email is going to make their day, and they just feel so like important, I guess.
They feel heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question was, you all talked about having to really manage your time when doing a business in college, and what are some ways that you learned to do that?
Oh man. You see, that's probably the hardest part about starting a business in college is the time management, because there's weeks where, I was a computer science student here at Tech. So there was weeks where I had like 3 tests, but then I had to pull data for people or I needed to, ship a new feature. And it was just like, there's so many different things. So it's really just finding the little times in your day, because there's always at least like an hour or two where, you're sitting at home and you're scrolling on Instagram or doing something that you could be, either studying or working, or, you pull the late nights some nights. But yeah, I don't know. The time management is a very tricky and lucrative skill to have, but it's really more just dedication and just doing it.
Yeah, time management's definitely sorry, Io, were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
All you, Abby.
Sorry. Time management's definitely my biggest weakness, but coincidentally, I'm like a very like time-driven person, as in like, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go try to shower in 5 minutes. Like I have to do things in chunks of time. So I've almost found it better, like after class, set my phone on a 1-hour timer and just focus on business. Like kind of setting these timers, being like 1 hour of cleaning my house, 1 hour of working, 1 hour of homework. That's just what's really helped me, because maybe you'll have that hour one day and you think you're all like done with homework, but then you can get ahead on homework and work on business and clean your house. Just setting chunks of time for different things has helped me a lot. Otherwise, I'm like in bed all day. So that has helped me.
Okay. I think we
Yeah,
have. Sorry. Oh, you go.
If I can have one quick thing. My mentor, Dr. Tim Dallas, shout out to him. He's awesome. He encouraged me to do a time budget. So we all have 168 hours every week, dividing up those hours, like being very, very realistic. So how many hours do you need for sleep? How many hours do you need for like your personal things that you need to get done? How many hours do you need for school? And then how many hours can you dedicate for business? And being so realistic about it and put cushion in there too. So I think whenever I did my first version of my time budget, I had negative time. I was doing way too much. And so that made me be more mindful of like, okay, let me cut out this, let me cut out this. That way I have more time for business. So I think get like very unemotional. This is the part where you can be unemotional. Get very unemotional about your time budget of like what you realistically can do in each space of your life, because you do have constraints. We're not superhuman unless you are. Kudos to you.
Tasha told me to tell you that Tim Dallas is here. I don't know why, but
Hi, Dr. Dallas.
so I think we have a question on the back row.
So with like starting a company while you're, you know, a student or a younger adult, do you ever have trouble like being taken seriously by, you know, other businesses you're trying to network with, or like people you're pitching to, or even like the customers?
I want to answer this one. Yeah, I mean, during school, we kind of started our sales. We had an MVP product out, and I'm going to keep this quick because I know we're over time. But every time I talk to people, I'll tell them, hey, we're working on something, you know, through the Innovation Hub. We're working on new technology. And I always felt like they weren't taking us seriously. Even I'd go to Chamber of Commerce events, and I was like the youngest person there. And sometimes it took a lot of networking, a lot of passion, a lot of storytelling to really convince people that we're actually doing this, and this is not just a school project. So I think that your personality and your drive and you actually want to succeed, it'll rub off on other people.
Perfect. Do we have any questions on that side of the room? Yeah, couple.
So multiple of you mentioned about having like pretty serious majors like computer science or engineering that after college are known for paying pretty well. So how did y'all decide to ultimately take the risk of getting involved in a startup?
That's a great question.
I'm still in college, so I cannot answer this.
Maybe Patrick
Raphael.
or Raphael.
Yeah, happy to jump in on this one. So, you know, I think that money is important to everyone. Like, you know, lots of people tell you like money doesn't matter, but you know, that's usually people who already have money. So being straightforward, like money does matter, and being able to take care of yourself is an important thing. I think for me, when it came to making decisions around my startup and also, you know, what I could earn in my career, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, I did have jobs that I worked while I was building my startup after college because, you know, I needed to eat. On the flip side of that, though, you know, there's definitely sacrifices that I made in terms of, you know, if I wanted to, you know, when I was at Google paid really well, great situation. I could have just stayed at Google and kind of coasted. But I think it's just a matter of like, what are the outcomes that you want for your life? And like, you know, I think for me, one of the things that's really important, you know, in building my companies and growing my startups is that at the end of the day, like as much as I'm passionate about the problems that we're solving, I'm also passionate about making money. And I think that one of the things that's important to me in building my companies is being able to leverage them as a path to build wealth. And I knew that if I were to just stay in my kind of 9-to-5 roles that I was in, I wouldn't be able to get to the financial outcomes that I wanted to get to. And, you know, I was fortunate in the sense that, you know, I quit my job at Google to do my health tech startup, and we were able to get to an exit and to start kind of that path there from, you know, where I wanted to be financially. So I think for anyone who's considering a startup versus what it'll look like to take on, you know, maybe a more traditional 9-to-5, there's not a singular way to build wealth, but I think that's one of the things in my mind is a big factor for a lot of entrepreneurs, that not only do you get the freedom of building things that you want, but you also get to be in a place where, you know, if you get a great outcome with your startup, you can build a lot of wealth. So that was one of the biggest factors between choosing to stay in a 9-to-5 versus building my own company.
Awesome. Thank you. I think we have another, just one or.
So y'all mentioned like having mentors and stuff, and like starting up, like how would you recommend finding mentors to help you get to where you need to be?
Right here. This building.
Yeah, right here, exactly.
Yeah, just email me.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, anybody, if y'all have.
Yeah, our only mentors have been.
I mean, I think if you want a rigid schedule and to say this is my mentor team, then come here and do the competitions. But if you're looking for mentorship, think about what area you're trying to put yourself in. You know, what's your business idea? What's the market? Who are players in that game? Who works there? Go talk to them. I don't know what your work experience looks like, but when I managed a retail shop, I had people come in every day trying to pitch a product or a business or a brand or a service or something. So just putting yourself out there, putting your name out there, making yourself like, make sure they remember you. that's the best way to find mentorship, because as many people as you're going to talk to, you're going to find somebody that's like, oh man, this is cool. What else are you doing? How can I help? And that's I think that's how you do it. It's just really just sticking your neck out there.
Yeah, we have over 60 industry mentors here at the Innovation Hub. So I have people all the time that just walk into the building and they have an idea, and they may be faculty, staff, students, community people. So if you ever have an idea and like are not and want to pitch it or anything before the next Raider startup or the next competition, like just come in here and get in contact with us, and we can talk to you about next steps and stuff. Okay, did you have something?
If
I
I
want
can
to
add
answer your
one,
question. Sorry, just 1 second. This has been bugging me. I want to answer your question about kind of taking salary with a engineering position, for example. I remember I was going to get paid like $120,000 or something. My dad used to work at Chevron. He almost killed me for not taking that job. Right now, all my friends are in Vail. You know, they're out on ski trips. They're doing all these amazing things. But it's all about your goals, what you want to accomplish in life. And I know personally right now, if I was in Colorado skiing, I would not be accomplishing the goals I set out for my life. And it just really depends on what you want to accomplish. And if that route, that 9 to 5 is what you want to accomplish in life, then more power to you. But, you know, if you're looking for a little bit more, I guess, long-term wealth and you want to gain a little bit more in a shorter amount of time, I think that, you know, you really do have to put that salary aside for a second and think to yourself, why am I here? Because right now, while my friends are skiing, I have to think to myself, I'm here for a reason. I'm not going to quit. This is what I'm here for. So.
Okay. Iowa, did you have something to add on to the last one?
yeah, I did on the mentorship question. I would say like beyond the hub, be bullish on LinkedIn. Just like if there's someone really interesting, you like what they're doing, you like their company, you're really resonating with what they're saying or what they're doing, slide into the DMs. Like that, I do that all the time. I was sliding to the LinkedIn DMs all yesterday for something I'm working on. And so I think being bullish, you'll be surprised how people want to help. Like people are so generous and want to like actually help. And a lot of times mentors will get things out of helping you. So I think don't be afraid to ask. And one thing I think too with getting a mentor is being a good mentee. So be on time, be prepared, have the questions, be consistent, follow up, send updates, ask if you want another meeting, be respectful, whatever answer that they have. And whenever you establish a good relationship with a mentor, ask them, who else should I know? At that point, you've already built trust. And so they'll be more willing to expand their network to you. That's how I've had a lot of my mentors, is through just the web of connection, and like second degree, third degree, fourth degree connections.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, y'all can hang around if you want, and if the panelists have time to answer any other questions. But I'm gonna wrap us up, and if anybody wants to stay around for a tour, if you have time, Nathan or Mallory can give you a tour on the Innovation Hub and see all the cool things that we have in all of our tenants and companies here, as well as their spaces, maybe. No, obviously, like no. But I would love to let y'all be able to come to one of our socials to see sort of what we do here at the Innovation Hub. This is our next big program. So it's called our Shark Tank. So it's called iLaunch Competition, and it's actually next Friday. And so our competition portion is going to be from 1 to 5 p.m. It'll be here in this room. So you can hear from over 13 startup companies that are going to be 10 of them will be fighting for $10,000 as our top prize. And then our Pantex track is going to be for $5,000. And so if you're ever interested in doing something like this, or if you just want to come and hear all the cool things that people are doing in Lubbock. And then afterwards at 5 p.m., we actually have an awards social where we'll have food and everything. So there's a QR code on the screen if you want to RSVP for that. But this is our next big event. And then we have like our bigger Shark Tank that both of them have gone through, which is our accelerator competition. That's in the spring. So we have other different competitions and things that will be happening in the spring. And so our next Lunch and Learn is in the spring as well. And that will be about finances. So that's open for registration now, and it'll be on January 12th. So that's all that we have today. And thank you all so much for coming. Y'all can stick around if you'd like. Okay. Raphael, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, well, I think that's everything, but thank y'all so much. And I will get this recording to y'all if y'all want it as well. So
Great, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
thank y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.